thank you for inviting me and involving me in this. And as I said a little bit earlier, just before we got going, I think, Veronica, thank you for inviting me. Graham, thank you for inviting me. Veronica, I think you put together a fantastic program over these 3 days, lots of really good things. So, you know, well done you. Thank you very much for involving. I was also delighted when I saw some of the kind of Twitter stuff and some of the media for this, that we were described as the inspirational North West Care Cooperative, which was very flattering. It is perhaps a little untrue in the sense that I think what we try to do, and what I hope I can do in the next hour or so, is kind of inspire you, share a little bit of optimism, a bit of positivity. But I don't think we're particularly inspirational. And the reason why I say that is that in my book, inspirational people are usually ordinary people who do extraordinary things. And all we do is enable people to live their lives well. And that, to me, should be, shouldn't it, a fairly ordinary thing. And it is the tragedy, and it's perhaps the level of expectation that we have within social care at the moment, that if you are disabled or if you are a receiver of social care, then actually if you can have an organisation that helps you live your life well, that can be judged as inspiration. Now that's inspiring, but wrong, because actually everybody should have the opportunity to live their life well. And it's that kind of positivity that is where we're coming from with everything that we do. And I suppose what we're trying to do, a little bit in line with the way that Social Care Future operates, is to try and provide a positive vision of the way that things can be done in order to draw people towards change and improvement. Rather than complain, we kind of try to have a dream, and this is our dream. So what I'm going to do next hour or so is I'm going to share with you some audio clips and presentations that have been done by our members. And they were done for a webinar that we ran ourselves about 3 months ago now. And I think they give you a fairly good flavour of what we're about. And they'll take about 20 minutes. And then after that, quite happy to kind of answer any questions and go through those with you. If you do have questions during the video, just put them in the chat and I'll try and pick them up as we go. So I'll start off, a couple of little bits of sort of housekeeping. Some of this was provided for our webinar, and there's an introduction by the chair of our cooperative at the start, which is obviously referring to that webinar. So there might be a couple of odd references there, just please ignore. And as she says, the editing of some of the audio is a bit clunky, but actually we kind of like that because it comes over as authentic. So just bear with that as well a little bit. And so I'll set the video going and then we'll pick up again probably in about 20 minutes time for a chat. So here we go. I'm going to share screen. Hopefully someone can tell me that you can see that.
Yep, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. And here we go. Let's hope it works.
Zoom has a mysterious way, doesn't it, with the videos? I'm not sure I fully understand it.
Yeah, sorry, John, should we be hearing something?
Right. Sorry. I understand there's no. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me try again with the sound, and we'll see if we can. It should be coming through. I'll just check on my own Zoom settings. Bear with me a second. It might be
That's
that
kind
I've
of very
got.
better, yeah.
Now there is a. Just bear with me a second. There is a way of doing this, isn't there?
There is. I think it's quite mysterious. And
Yeah, I will find it.
You want any guidance on it? After, if you go, when you do the share screen, when you click on it, it opens up the white box, and then bottom left, it says share sound, and you need to tick that, and then optimize for
there we
video
go.
clip, and you need to tick that. So both
Got
of
it.
those, and that should work.
Let's go back then, and I'll try again. Sorry about that. I should have done that. I think it's set up for me when I normally do it, but of course I'm kind of in somebody else's Zoom, aren't I? Which I didn't think about. So apologies for that. Let's see how this goes. I'm going to stop this and go back to the start.
Yeah.
Right, here we go. Try this again. Am I sharing that now?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, hang on. Right, this should be better. And somebody tell me if it does it. Well, the first slide won't make noise, but on the second slide, hopefully we'll get some noise. So please tell me if you don't hear anything.
Still no sound.
Next slide.
Hello everybody, and welcome to our evening webinar. We had a great afternoon earlier on, so let's hope we have a lovely session now. I'm Mary, Rick's mum. Our family has been involved with the North West Care Co-op since the start, and so we feel in a rather unique position. About 3 years ago, Rick wanted to change his support, and we moved from an agency to Faye, who we employed. This worked very well, and Rick was very pleased. However, having one PA isn't sustainable. Rod, my husband, and I were interested in the idea of self-managing teams of PAs. But who could advise us on this? Who could help us with going forward? Cheshire Centre for Independent Living, Cecil as it now was the answer. Their response when I contacted Lynn was, yes, it's a very interesting idea. We can't say much right now, but please be patient for a while before we can help you. They were waiting for the response from an application for funding from Drill UK. And as they say, the rest is history. The Care Co-op was formed. Now, putting together this webinar is something that we've found exciting to do, and I know our users and PAs have enjoyed it, and we are delighted that you've been able to join us. We hope that some of the fun that we've had in preparing this comes across to you today. The session will be in 2 parts. In a moment, we'll begin our story. It's told by our members in a collection of short audio discussions recorded in their individual support buttons. Although the editing may be a little clunky or even non-existent at times, it's a testament to the authenticity of the event. The second part of the session is an open forum for questions and discussions. If you have any questions or comments during the audio discussions, you can put them on the chat or wait until the presentations are over and then give me a wave, either in real life or digitally. And I know we have a lot of experts in our users on the webinar this evening, so there won't be an absence of good answers. So let us now listen and listen to our members' story.
The best organisations don't just do, they know why they do. In this discussion between Susan, Hannah and Jodie, you'll get a sense of our why, how the co-op is different and their hopes for the future. Jodie asks the questions whilst Batman keeps quiet.
Oh, there you go. Righty-ho.
Okay, there are three of us here. Sue, my name's Sue. I'm Hannah's mum.
Hannah. Hannah's been very quiet, and I'm Jodie, who is Hannah's PA.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you, I'll do the asking today. I'm going to be the interviewee. So, Sue, you tell me first, how did you come to join the North West Care Co-operative?
Okay, it was, it came about by Hannah's previous support had ended. We won't cover it any more than that. It had just come to an end. So, her social worker at the time put us in touch with what's now called Disability Positive, who then put us in touch with John from the North West Care Co-operative. And that's how we came to join, because it seemed to be a new way forward that would suit Hannah's individuality and not conform to some of the stricter care regimes which are about at the moment. What would you say to that, Hannah? Did you want something different than what you'd had before?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Hannah, now you've been part of the Care Cooperative for a while. Is it different?
Yes, different, yes.
Why?
Because we sort of decide what we want to do between us, whereas when I had all the other care agencies, you had to be restricted to times and how, you'd have support at, say, 10 o'clock in the morning, you'd only have till, say, 2 hours, and then the staff would have to be elsewhere with other people, so things would be rushed and you wouldn't necessarily get through everything. And because you'd have carers that obviously work for the Northwich Network, work for other people, they have to be elsewhere with other clients, so your support sometimes was rushed and sometimes they didn't come and things like that, so it's all problems and issues.
I think from my point of view, it has meant that because we have John as a manager, it actually means that it helps Hannah's independence for the future, in the fact that he deals with hours, holidays, all that sort of thing, which means that it frees us up to have a relationship with Jodie, our PA, which is more of a friend. And we have been quite unique, the three of us, in developing our relationship, because Hannah doesn't have a standard life. Hannah works. She hasn't been working at the moment because of the coronavirus, but Hannah doesn't work set shifts. Jodie has a full-time job, but it hasn't impacted on Hannah's care, support, friendship, and the three of us have supported each other through all sorts of things that we've needed to do.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think the North West Care Co-operative has been good in a number of ways. It's opened up a group to us which we've never had before. We've always felt quite isolated and alone, and I feel as a member that if I needed something, I could use our WhatsApp, which we've got one for the bigger group and one for the sort of parents and supporters. And if I needed something, I could ask, or we could ask, or we can just have fun, which is nice, and we send photographs about daft things as well as all the support that's being done. One of the things I've noticed is that how long have we now known you, Jodie?
2 years.
About 18 months?
Yeah, 2 months.
Yeah. That Hannah has grown in confidence and independence, and for a mum, that is really nice for me to see. She's always had plenty to say, but sometimes hasn't always had a forum to which her views have been able to be heard and listened to. And I think the North West Care Cooperative really does that. It enables Hannah to be Hannah, and that's a very nice thing to do.
Right, well that might take us on to this next bit that we've been asked to talk about, which is kind of looking towards the future.
Tricky, but a really important point. Not wanting to dwell on the negative, but Hannah's dad and I won't always be here. And I think what we are doing with Hannah, Jodie, the North West Care Cooperative, is enabling Hannah to be independent for her future. And I think the cooperative would support Hannah in any difficulties that she might have, good or bad. And I think we all have to face the inevitable. And I think that that would be useful and good for Hannah to have a group of people who she could talk to, who I know would support her and help her to be independent and to deal with whatever life throws at her. That's what I think any parent would hope for.
Do you want to say anything about that?
How do you feel about what would happen when something might happen to your dad and I?
Don't know.
Do you think life would be all right?
We'd make it all right, wouldn't we?
We would.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We'd make it all right. So you'd have people
Yeah.
to support
I'd
you.
have to have more PAs than Jodie. I'd have to put more support in, wouldn't
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's not a bad thing, is it?
No.
And have you always ever had more support than you think you've needed? Or the opposite way around?
No, not always. Sometimes I've had not enough.
Yeah. But do you feel if you needed some more, it would be there?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's all anybody can hope for.
Right, so let's look at what else we've got here. We've got so the role of your PA. What do you think? Go on, you can talk about me now.
Well, she's the craziest lady I've ever met in my life. But that's not a bad thing because we're all quite crazy around here as well, so that'll be all right. So we decide between ourselves what we're doing. We decide what to do, don't we?
Yeah, and we think we get it right, what we do.
Sometimes we get it right, and sometimes we don't. And
what about the challenges during this coronavirus?
we've learned to adapt in all sorts of different ways, going for walks and getting takeaway coffees and dancing in the garden. Line dancing in the garden, that was a while ago. We did choir in the garden sometimes on Zoom.
Online singing?
Yeah, we've done online singing. It's all gone by the wayside for the time being.
It's a bit cold to do it.
We're not ill and we're still alive, so that's all I have to say for that.
And we've kept each other safe.
Yeah, we can't keep safe, yeah.
And we're looking forward to some of the restrictions lifting a bit and being able to
do a bit more, go a bit further maybe and do a little bit more.
And meet up with the other members.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely.
Meet up with
Just
people.
very briefly, what have you done this morning?
Oh, we went to Delamere and we met Louise, who is a PA, and we met Nicholas, a client, and we had coffee and chatted, and that was wonderful. We went for a little walk round Delamere, and then we had nice coffee and nice cake, and then we came back.
And we heard from Rick.
Oh yeah, we spoke to Rick.
And
The daily input from Rick.
Yeah, and we're going to meet him soon as
Yes,
well.
I'm going to go and have coffee with Rick as well.
So, on that note,
I think that's it. Is that everything?
have we covered everything?
Everybody happy with what you've said?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll send it over to you now, John, and you can edit
Edit it.
away. And if there's anything that we haven't added and you want us to...
James and Sarah explain how the cooperative works and how it adapted to COVID-19.
Before the pandemic, we were at the Freedom Expo Centre, which is a sort of where disabled people like myself get taught how to ride a horse.
And that was your volunteer role, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that's what we would usually do. So you've got 2 PAs, Sarah and, well, myself and Louise. Before the pandemic, what activities were you doing with your PAs?
Well, before the pandemic, we would be going to the cinema, going bowling, going to the zoo, going to indoor trampoline parks, going to out for dinner, and also going out shopping as well.
And out shopping. And now with the pandemic around, what have we had to do?
Well, we had to stop all that and go on our walks.
So we've been doing lots of outside activities, all physical, very good for our well-being and the fresh air.
Yeah.
So we've had to adapt everything. Yeah. But we've continued doing it, haven't we?
Yeah, we have.
So, so it's different from some other agencies that might stop and not work at all because obviously they might be nervous because of the pandemic, but we've adapted our activities so we're outside in the fresh air so we can continue doing things, can't we?
Yeah, we can continue doing things whilst most agencies will say, nope, we're not doing a review, you have to wait until this whole situation sorts itself out.
That's right. So before you had PAs in the cooperative, what did you do? What happened with your PAs before the cooperative, before you joined the cooperative?
Well, my PAs before I joined the cooperative, I had 2 of them from different agencies, and they would obviously say, oh, sorry, we can't make that time, or sorry, we're having a day off, or sorry, we're on holiday.
And they just wouldn't turn up, would they, on
Nope.
some occasions, where the cooperative, and you would have different PAs, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But where the cooperative's different, how is it different with your PAs?
Because the PA is someone you know, and someone you trust, and someone you can rely on.
And it's the same ones each week, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if either of us are off sick, then you can call on Jodie or Faye or one of the other PAs because you know them well, don't you?
Yeah.
So it's like a family, it's a group, isn't it? That we all look after each other, and the PAs and the members all look after each other, so we can help each other out as and when it's necessary, isn't it?
Yeah, we can.
So we have fun doing it. So each week then, the activities you choose, how do I tell you what activities to do, or do you choose them for yourself?
I choose them for myself.
So each week I text you and ask you what activities you would like to do. So I give you time to think about things, and then we go off and do what you would like to do. It's all about you making your decisions and choices, isn't it?
Yeah.
So all becoming independent, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's what you like to do. So the PAs have become more like an extra family member, really, haven't they?
Yeah.
Because we get on well with your parents as well.
Yeah, we do.
So, and we go and do activities together, not just you and I. We go out with your mum sometimes, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
So it's a nice family feel to it all, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So is there anything else you want to add about the cooperative? What do you like about it?
That's not real agency, so that's independent, not council run. And that's we all stay here because we're a cooperative, not like the other agencies.
That's great. So is that anything else you want to add?
No.
Do you think we should get more members to join our cooperative?
Yeah, we need more members. The more members.
All too often, services are run by the people who provide them, rather than the people who receive them. Rick and Faye explain what Rick likes about the cooperative.
Hello, my name is Rick, and I'm 34 years old. I live in Chester.
And hi, I'm Faye. I'm Rick's PA.
I'm a member of the North West Care Co-operative.
And what is it that you like about the?
I plan my care, and I do stuff what I want to do, and I don't have anybody else telling me what to do.
What your favourite thing to do before COVID?
See all my mates and other PAs, but I can't at them right now because of situations what we can't control at the moment.
So
We have to do it on Zooms and WhatsApp. I check on everybody most days.
yeah, so there's always somebody to talk to, isn't there?
Yeah.
And what have we done over COVID that you didn't do a lot of before?
I did a lot of walking.
Sorry. Oh, hang on, Rick, you're coming out.
I do a lot of walking.
You did 100 miles last month.
Yeah, I
didn't
did 100 miles. Yeah.
you? So you got super fit, didn't you?
I got super fit, and I'm still coming on my walking.
Okay. And so
Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Rachel, accompanied by Eunice, explains why she likes the cooperative and how easy it was to join.
Go.
I'm Rachel and I'm part of the North West Care Co-operative.
Why do you like the Care Cooperative, Rach?
Because they treat me more like an adult, consult me more, and I've made loads of new friends.
When you say consult, what does that mean?
Talk to me about making decisions.
So who is it that chooses what we're doing?
Me.
Very true. And how does the North West Care Cooperative differ from other places that you may have had support from?
They're more friendly, approachable, and we have fun.
And how easy was it to get in touch with the North West Care Cooperative?
Quite easy. My dad just phoned him up, and we heard through Cecil.
And what was it like the first time you met somebody from the North West Care Cooperative?
Really good.
Why did you say that?
Because they were approachable and treated me like an adult.
Nicholas and Maggie explain how the Care Co-op has helped them.
Do you remember last year we were told that I should stop being your carer, and we were a bit upset. But we've been very lucky finding the North West Co-op, haven't we?
Yes.
And you like your carer, don't you?
Louise, yes.
Why do you like Louise?
This is near my age.
Oh, right.
We've got similar things
In common, have
common,
you?
yes.
Yeah. And what do you think about being part of the co-op? Do you think it's a good thing?
It's difficult to judge because we haven't been able to meet anyone, have we, because of the risk going on.
But you really enjoy the Zoom meetings, don't you?
Yes.
And you like having the WhatsApp, seeing what everybody else is doing.
Yes.
Well, when the COVID's finished and now you're going back to Roland's Lodge, and Louise will be able to do more with things with you that you normally do, that'll get a bit more like normal, won't it?
Yes.
So why do you like the Zoom meetings and the WhatsApp?
Because there's somebody you haven't seen for 20 years, it's nice to see her face again and get to chat to her.
And is it nice getting to know new people?
And new people as well, yes.
And making friends?
Yes.
And you're looking forward to meeting them all?
Yes.
So you're glad that you've got rid of your last carer, your old mother. And we've got a nice young one now,
yes,
who's more
with it.
With it,
yes.
Yeah. All right. That's nice, isn't it? I've been discarded. But it's been a good move for both of us, hasn't it?
Yes,
it's taken pressure off me, and it gives you another outlook in life and meeting new people.
Yes.
And you feel happy about it all, and you look forward to the future, are you?
Yes. I am.
Is there anything else you want to say? You've been doing a lot of cooking.
Yes, we have, yes. And a lot of walking.
And a lot of losing
weight.
Yeah. So
Unlike my mother who hasn't lost any weight.
I think we might end it there.
Faye explains why she joined the co-op, what she likes about it, and a little bit more about cake.
Let's just see. We're recording. Right, okay, super. Right.
My name is Faye. I am 22 years old and I live with my mum and dad and a house full of lovely children. Why did you join the co-op? Because I wanted to get out of the house and meet new friends of my age. And at the co-op, I know at the moment I can't meet them, but using Zoom each week has helped me to engage and talk to them. The co-op allows members like me to choose a PA that I am happy to be with. My PA is called Sarah. Each week we meet and talk about everything and anything. Sarah and I talk about what activities I like to do each and plan where to go together. I like the fact that I can make my own decisions. The activities I have done so far are cooking outside. We went in Asda with a list of items which helped me to understand money, the cost of items. We made fairy cakes which were lovely. Creating crafts again, we went to Wilko to buy the items we made. Boats, rockets and sock puppets. We walked the walls of Chester, physical exercise, then we went for a hot chocolate.
Woo! Lovely. It was indeed.
Once COVID is all sorted and everything is back to normal, I am looking forward to meeting my new members, Rick, James, Nicholas, Hannah, Rachel, Nicola and Angela, and their PAs, Louise, Jodie, Faye, and everyone else, and John.
Do you want to put your mask on? And then I'll come over. And I'm Sarah. Hello. There we go.
We are determined that North West Care Co-operative is not a provider of support, but rather a community of support. Because in a community, it is relationships that are at the fore. Finding the right person to support you is really, really important. And Angie, who has recently joined the cooperative, tells us why it is so important to her.
Hi, my name is Angie and I'm here to talk about the North West Care Co-operative. I came across them when Disability Positive put me in touch with them about finding a new PA. My old PA left after 11 years and I was using agency workers, which just isn't good at all. You get no say-so about who's coming to look after you and there's no continuity of care. So after having a quick chat with John, who's a gorgeous guy, we discussed what I needed and the sort of person I'd like and how many hours I needed them to work for me, and we worked out what I needed. He put an advert together and we advertised. He told me it might be a quick process, but it took 6 weeks, and we interviewed together. We sifted through, and now I've got a girl Friday. I've got a gorgeous girl called Leah, and we're like two sisters. She's my sister by another mother, and she's been with me now for about 8 weeks, and we're getting on. we rub along quite well together. So my whole experience with the North West Care Cooperative has been brilliant. I'm so glad I came across them through Disability Positive. I don't think I could have found a better place to end up, and I'd recommend them to anybody. So I hope my experiences of the cooperative will ring true with you as well. Thanks.
And finally, nuts and bolts. The story of North West Care Co-operative. You can find out a lot more about us by looking at our website at www.nwcarecoop.co.uk or on our YouTube channel. North West Care Co-operative started in January 2018 as part of a research project funded by DRILL UK, which stands for Disability Research into Independent Living and Learning. The project was designed to test cooperative models of care, and the consortium of disabled people's user-led organisations, Disability Positive from Cheshire, Disability Equality North West from Lancashire, Breakthrough UK from Greater Manchester, and Disability Association Carlisle and Eden from Cumbria, saw the project as an opportunity to maybe pump prime something that could outlive the lifetime of the project. We were incorporated as a not-for-profit company in November 2018, which was a necessary first step before CQC registration in March 2019, and we began trading in July 2019. North West Care Co-operative acts as a service company that provides all the supporting administrative functions for providing support, such as employment, doing all the health and safety, taking regulatory responsibility, etc. Whilst the local care cooperatives that we support direct or set the tone and style of the support that's provided. Chester Care Cooperative, the people that you've heard from today, were the first of our care cooperatives and was established in September 2018. And we're just about to launch our next cooperative, which is Wirral Care Cooperative, which, as I say, launches this month. We proved COVID-19 proof, having got through the pandemic when a lot of other organisations have struggled and are continuing to grow. We have quite a long waiting list of people looking to join our cooperative. And our aspiration is to be much, much more than just a provider of care, in inverted commas. We see ourselves very much more as a community in which we all care about rather than for each other.
Okay, so I hope you were able to hear that. Okay, it seemed quite faint to me. If there were bits that you missed or you wanted to see it again, it's on our website, that presentation. So there is a little bit more if you want to see it. And I know the transcript I thought was very interesting because it seems to say things in a whole range of different ways. Just having a quick look through the chat, and I'll see if I can pick up any questions. If anyone's got any questions and they want to wave either kind of a Zoom wave or a proper physical one, I will try and answer them. If I start with James, I think.
Hi, John. We met back in 2018. Actually, I think it's nice to see that the project's carried on.
Yeah, I remember. I recognise your face. Certainly.
Yeah. So I missed the very start of this session, so I don't know whether this has been covered already. But who are the actual members of North West Care Co-op, and who are the actual members of the individual local cooperatives?
So we have, and the people that you saw there are all from the Chester Care Cooperative, who is an unincorporated care cooperative. It runs according to a constitution that Cooperatives UK actually provided for us. So, and fairly standard one with 3 categories of membership: user members, supporting members, and employee members. 4 general meetings a year, 1 member, 1 vote, all that kind of thing. but all the kind of admin, all the bits around regulation and employment and so on is all housed within this thing that we've set up called North West Care Co-operative, which is a service company. So the service company provides a service to the cooperative. And the people who are in North West Care Co, well, technically we employ all the PAs, although their employers, if you like, or the people who direct what they do daily are the members of the cooperative. And North West Care Co-operative also employs the registered manager, who is me. And it has a board who are made up of the original organisations that put the bid in to drill to get money in the first place. So we've kind of got a business bit which houses all the liability and the cost and which money, all the money flows through. And if it goes bust, we'll be the ones that are all liable. And then we've got an unincorporated care cooperative that actually directs what happens within that group of people in receipt of their care. And I suppose what the way I've kind of always described it, I think it's a bit like the relationship between in a magistrate's court between the magistrates and the clerk of the court. So you've got magistrates who are lay people who aren't necessarily legally qualified, they're not necessarily paid or anything like that, but they deliver all the important decisions around innocence and guilt, sentencing, and set the tone for justice locally. And then you have a clerk of the court who is like NWCC, who just makes sure it's all legal and within what the law says, and gives advice and supports the magistrates in setting the tone of justice, if you want to put it that way. And that's kind of how it operates.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
So, sorry, John. So, what's the position of the PAs in that mix?
So they're employee members within the local cooperatives that they're in, and they have one member, one vote in terms of how the cooperative operates. They can influence their pay and conditions if they wish to through that. But they're actually employed and on the payroll and get pay slips from North West Care Cooperatives that acts as the service company. Right.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
And we provide. We came out because we've got the Wirral Co-op. We are actually able to sort of provide slightly different levels of support depending upon how they want it, or different style of it to the two different cooperatives.
Okay.
Hi, Jan.
Sorry. John, are you the registered manager for both of the co-ops then?
Yes. Yeah.
And that's fine by CQC.
Yeah. Now, what they said originally was that we would register North West Care Cooperative as the service, and you then, at any registration, you register a service, and then you register the locations that those services operate from. So you could be Acme Care Homes, who is a company, and it could have a number of care homes. And they said you can probably. And there's obviously a limit on how many care homes that Acme can run under the same registration, if you see what I mean. But you register the service and the registered manager for that service, and they could act as registered manager for a number of locations. What CQC said when we kind of set up was that you could run a number of locations, didn't specify how many, but you probably needed to make sure, all you will be tested on, if you like, or questioned on, is how you were able to provide effective oversight of those locations. So they gave us a for instance, which was that if we started in the Chester area with one cooperative, and if we had another cooperative in the Carlisle and Eden area, is where one of our kind of an original kind of board members was from, then that would probably be too far apart to claim that you could affect it with one registered manager. You probably have to have two or a deputy. But actually, as long as you kept it reasonably close together, reasonably local, then you could build up the number of locations. And at the outset, we said that we would probably kind of cap it at 3 different cooperatives, and that was part of the kind of registration discussion, and the Care Quality Commission were happy with that.
It's very interesting. And so you've just got one nominated individual, or do you have one for each?
No, we've got one nominated individual who is, if you like, for North West Care Cooperative, providing the services.
Okay, thank you.
In the same way, I mean, again, I think if you go back to the Acme Care Homes principle, I think it would be the same there. I don't know for sure, but I presume it's just one nominated individual for the company, the service that's supporting a number of care homes.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because I think that the advice that we had, I think this is going back some while, was that, you know, if for example, another care co-op was started up, you know, 5 miles away or something like that, or 10 miles away, then that would probably need its own registered manager. But it's probably more about capacity, as you say, more about capacity to provide effective cover, isn't it? And
yeah, and I think initially, so when we first thought about this, we thought that what would happen is that we would have up to 3 incorporated cooperatives, and each of those cooperatives would act as the employer for their PAs. And that was a problem with CQC, because again, they said, well, if you're going to have 3 incorporated cooperatives, you're going to need 3 registrations. But actually, if you kind of centralize all the liability really around employing and administration and regulation, all the rest of it in the service company, they were happy that that was one registration that could support a number of locations as they saw it. And of course, it's a cooperative. We're registered as a domiciliary care agency, so it's not a perfect fit, but they kind of talk in terms of, you know, the physicality of location and service. And one service could support a number of locations, as long as you say, it was kind of within what would be a reasonable kind of capacity.
That's interesting.
Sue?
I've just posted this, but it's really interesting because we were told when I worked in the council, this was probably 15 years ago, they wouldn't allow us to have one registered manager over 2 6-bedded respite homes actually on the same site. So I do wonder if they've relaxed the rules, or sometimes it's down to the vagaries of the particular inspector on the site and the relationship you build up with them, I think.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the case. We had a fantastic registration inspector who just kind of got what we were trying to do. And I think, we were involved in an exercise with the CQC at the start of 2020, a sandboxing exercise, as they call it, which I know Equal Care were involved in, and some of the other people I've seen on the sessions earlier today. And that was where they took a bunch of small providers who probably the current regulatory regime is a bit overburdensome, disproportionate, and they were looking at ways of kind of simplifying it and stripping out a little bit. And it was all very positive experience, and they seemed to quite like what we were all doing collectively. But there was, I remember saying at the opening point of that, I've always had this kind of sense of jeopardy, or almost like imposter syndrome, that we got away with it at registration, but then sometimes somebody's going to come up and catch up with us and say, no, we didn't really mean that. But to be fair, we've had a number of kind of exposure to the registration system since then, and regulation, and again, they've always been very positive about what we're doing. So fingers crossed it carries on that way. And I think you're right, there is a changing approach to CQC at the moment.
Can I ask a follow-up question, John? Going back again to the governance thing. So do the local unincorporated care co-ops, can they participate in the governance of North West Care Cooperative in some way?
Yeah, so we have the chair of the chair of the Chester Cooperative is a director on the board at North West Care Cooperative. Okay. Intention will go the same way with the Wirral. We've only really just started that going, so we're finding our way a bit like that. Yeah. And it is a slightly different, it's a slightly different animal for Chester for a whole range of reasons. But I think it's also worth saying that that's the intention. Yeah. And I think it's also worth saying we're kind of at a stage of our development. We've got a board meeting actually next week for North West Care Cooperative, where we recognise that there is, as we've kind of grown and established ourselves and kind of got our ideas worked out, we're going to have quite a comprehensive look at our governance guidance, and maybe see what we need to adjust and develop around that. And I'm not sure that what we've got at the moment will continue. We might, because I think we recognise that we'd like to cement some of the participation a little bit more. We probably had quite a bit of leeway at the start, but we perhaps want to tie that down a little bit more as we go forward. And there's stuff about us not being a charitable organisation, and maybe we should try and do that as well, which all comes with governance as well. So we're kind of looking at it all in quite a big way over the next few months. Thanks.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, this idea about sort of localities not having any sort of legal structure really, apart from this sort of unincorporated association type model. I'm just wondering what the risks are associated with that really, in terms of I don't know, insurance or other sort of concerns there. Because you've got people essentially sort of governing their activities which are regulated, I suppose, and but the sort of the accountable legal entities is sort of a step removed. I'm just wondering how you get your head around that.
Yeah, I think I think there's two things really. I think going back to the last point with the last response to James.
Yeah.
I mean, we set our governance up to get us started, and actually, as things develop and grow, we might look at sort of bits of it again more seriously. Now, I don't think that saying that we've got it wrong necessarily at the moment, but again, I kind of think of the relationship slightly differently. I kind of think, well, okay, if I was going to go to a care agency as somebody who was on a direct payment or a personal health budget, and I was paying for them to support my care, then all the liability that you're talking about there would be held by the care agency. All I would be looking to do is to direct how my care is and say, no, I don't want to sit at home today, I want to go out, or whatever, the simple choices that we all make in our life. And actually, that's all we're doing here. We're holding all the regulatory liability in one place, but allowing people to make the decisions that actually matter to them within a cooperative sort of basis, because they do them mutually, because actually part of the thing that they quite enjoy is the social aspect as well. So that's kind of where it sits. It might have risks in there, but certainly the kind of hard-edged legal risks are certainly all sitting within one organisation, which is incorporated at Companies House. It's established in law. It's subject to regulation. It's subject to every other thing that, HMRC applies and all the rest of it. So there is a sense that that's all, you put fairly tight ring around that, and you can see into that and regulate that pretty well if you wanted to, whoever the regulator is. But it's the customer, if you like, who is the care cooperative. And that's the same way as it would be in an agency and individual relationship between provider and consumer, if you want to describe it as that. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That makes some sense. Thanks.
Yeah, and I suppose in a way, you could have 2 or 3 consumers of the service who could be in the same place, and they could make decisions between them. Well, that's starting to be quite cooperative, isn't it? Really, we only put these names on it because they're particular structures that we choose to use. But again, I think part of our governance review will look at the idea of whether we can continue with unincorporated cooperatives or whether we need to incorporate them. But that's something that other people who know far better than I will be able to advise on. Really.
Yeah, it's a complex one, isn't it? I'm just wondering, because obviously you've got quite a close knit group there, I think, and that arrangement that you talk about seems like that can work well in that context where people know each other and you've got good communications. I'm just wondering, if you've got a situation where a group were to approach you, for example, and you don't have those personal connections so much, that puts a whole different emphasis on it, doesn't it? I think it changes the game a bit.
Yeah, it does, and the relationships are really key. And you can legislate to try and protect you from them, but if the relationships aren't good, they're still bad, and it's still a pain, and it still costs you money, and all that sort of stuff. So it's why getting the relationships right is kind of so important in a way. And I suppose that's how you mitigate the risk, I would say. And whether the risk is greater if you've got kind of more structure and orthodoxy or regulation or whatever around it or not, I don't know. But if you focus on the relationships, that seems to be the thing I would suggest.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I know that Cliff's not with us this afternoon, but I've been talking to him and working with some other people on a project which is sort of taking shape in Manchester, where they're talking about the idea of having some sort of umbrella cooperative that, within which some activities can happen on a sort of semi-autonomous basis, and you can develop a sort of a network of stuff, but it all happens within this cooperative framework, which protects all of that activity or takes it out of that whole context of sort of contract law, if you want, and all the nastiness around that and the difficulties, and puts it all within this sort of worldview, which is about, well, you're part of the co-op, so these are the rules that we operate by in the co-op. I think there's scope to do something around that.
Yeah, and I think, we kind of stumbled across it really, and people in the cooperative world will have known it for far longer than me, but I think we completely underestimated the value of the social connection between the individuals within cooperative and how strong and how positive that has been. We kind of thought we'd just get a bunch of individuals together who might make some decisions collectively about how they sort of, set the tone of their service. But it's been far more than that. Yeah. And there is something in that which suggests that it's just a different way of doing stuff that is I think a lot better. And if you can kind of bottle that in some way and put the right sort of protections around that, it's got to be a good thing. But the danger is that if you can kind of not overprotect it, but that doesn't mean I suppose what I'm saying is it's not the same protections that you do have in a traditional commissioning or contract relationship.
Sure.
And that's what we all, I think, need to continue to learn to understand and explore a bit more.
Yeah, that's a very, very important point, isn't it? You risk crushing that stuff quite easily, don't you? Yeah.
I think Mark's got a question. If you want to come in,
Thank you, John. Hi, everybody. John, I know you from a distance because Lionel from Even Care Co-operative with you, right?
Yeah.
And we sort of indirectly had some interaction, and we still have it on board that when it seems the most opportune time, we're hoping to actually come up and meet with you and get first-hand recce from you, if you like. But the one question that I was keen to learn, understanding like the time frame involved to get you to the point that you're currently at. I think, if I'm right, it's quite a short period of time, but I would ask you, could you just give us an intimation about the viability scenario in terms of how are you generating the income that you need to continue this sterling work, and what are your projections for a sort of break-even point? Hope that's in order.
Yeah. So I think it's a bit of a tricky one, because it depends how you decide to kind of tackle it, or how you went to get. We came from a particular place, and we were born of a particular kind of gestation, which then dictated everything else. So what I mean by that is we began as a project which had a chunk of money that was to be spent or to deliver stuff over a set period of time. So we had a 2-year project timeline to set this thing up and to get some kind of results out of it. It was designed originally, it was funded as a research project. So if the research was that this doesn't work and the thing failed, that was good research. But the people who bid for the money, the kind of consortium of disabled people's user-led organisations, didn't want it to fail, and they saw this as an opportunity for something that could work and live beyond the project. So we kind of went at it 100% full on, pace-wise, speed-wise, in kind of indecent haste in some respects, to deliver something that could trade, if you want to put it in hard-nosed commercial terms, and could start generating income as early as we possibly could, and within that 2-year time frame. So we got the project money in January 2018. They appointed a project manager who was me. We came on board in May 2018. We got all our legal advice, tried to answer some of the complicated questions we've already dabbled on around kind of governance and structure, and we're incorporated by November 2018. Went to CQC, kind of charmed them or battered them into submission. I don't know quite what we did, or just had a huge piece of luck and were registered by March 2019 and trading in July 2019. In July 2019, we hoped that we would probably break even within about 18 months. The pandemic came along, obviously, in sort of March last year, and breaking even required us to grow, and pandemic stopped us growing. So we had to find a little bit of additional funding to tide us over, because our pot of project money was running down too fast and our income wasn't coming up quick enough. So we did that. We got a grant from the community fund, and we also got a business bounce back loan from the Treasury. So we sort of put another 50k into the business as a result of that. But since September, we have been growing. We've been growing at a rate faster than we ever expected. And we're now at a point where we're breaking even each month and building a small surplus. And our financial position now compared to last year is fantastically different and bodes well for the future. So we're kind of at the place where we've actually now at the stage where we feel we can invest some of our surplus in some of the development work that we needed to do, or we feel we need to do going forward. So we kind of, I think we've done really well, actually. We went at it as a business. I think 50% of businesses failed in the first 2 years, and we've been trading for 2 years this month, and we're still there. We've fought our way through a global pandemic, and we're still there. And we're not only still there, but we're starting now to be able to develop the kind of money to reinvest in the service, which is good. So I think we've done really well. And I think that's testament to the fact that people want the product, and they clearly do. We've got a waiting list of people wanting to join us. And there is something about this way of doing things, and whether we've got quite the right style of it, again, going back to the conversations that, earlier questions from Graham and James and so on, whether we've got quite the right style of it, I don't know, but we're definitely onto something in general terms here, as far as I put it, the consumer is concerned. Yeah, we really went for it. That's our time frame. That's our kind of financial projection stuff. The downside of that is what we haven't done, which I think you in Colne Valley Care Cooperative have done, and Equal Care have done so much better, is some of the stuff that goes alongside that. I think you've probably got a wider base of people who you have involved in the process. I think you've probably got a wider or a slightly bigger team of people to run the thing. It's all fallen to me at the moment. If I got hit by a bus, we'd have a problem. So we've carried quite a lot of risk in this. It's been very kind of entrepreneurial, but quite risky with that sort of entrepreneurialism. And you might want to think about doing it differently in the future. And certainly, I'm sure if we didn't have a time limit for 2 years project funding, we would possibly have taken a slightly slower go at it. But that's our story. That's where we are. That's our projections for the future. And you just take the opportunities that are thrown at you and do the best with them that you can.
Fantastic, and congratulations, John. I'm glad I asked the question.
Thanks, Mark. It's been hard work, but worth it.
Wow. No, it's congratulations. Proves that good things happen to good people. Well done, John. Thank you for your answers.
Thank you. Thank you. Jan, I think you've got a question.
Yeah, another practical one, John. Although I would just say that the downside for us is that we've got shareholders who may just want their money back at some point, and it would be lovely to give it to them. But that does, from somebody that's been looking quite closely at the finances, that certainly is very impressive. Well done. That wasn't my question, though. My question was around your contracts and membership. So how we're obviously giving our user members, our new user members, contracts. We feel the need to do that because of the nature of the service we're delivering, and we want to invite them to become user members. How are you dealing with that? How are you getting your users to become members? I mean, you can't force people, can you? But how's that working, please?
No. So we do have a kind of written contract thing. I'm not sure if I was a commercial lawyer, I'm sure they could say you could write a lot more into our contracts than we've got. So it's a little bit like our kind of. I mean, I don't want to knock our original governance arrangements because they cost us a lot of money. We went to a leading charity and voluntary sector law company in the Northwest that's got very smart offices in Manchester and Liverpool, and you can see why when you see how much they charge. But they knew what they were doing. So our governance arrangements are legally very strong, I think, but they were deliberately designed to allow us flexibility to operate in potentially a number of different ways. And I think our contracts are a little bit like that. And again, as we go on in time, I'm sure we'll add more to them. Essentially, what we do is we kind of we invite user members to join. What we've kind of learned is that it's a process. Actually, it's not that you join or you don't. We have a 6-month probationary period with our user members, as we do with our employees, in which we say, look, this is a different way of doing things. We're going to operate in a way that you might not be used to, and we will work with the user member to see that they're comfortable with that way of working. Because we have some people who have been user members who don't actually understand cooperative working, and they have a much more kind of transactional approach to life. They have a much more transactional way to the way they want to treat their personal assistants or the people who are employed to support them. They want to have, if you like, in some cases, more control over what they do than we're able to offer in some respects. We had somebody who decided during the probationary period they didn't want to continue with us because we were using, or we them within, if you like, to pay for the appropriate amount of leave for their personal assistants. And they worked on the basis that I know we get an allocation within our direct payment to pay for the PA's leave, but we'll just tell the PA that when they're not working for us, they're not getting paid, that if they want to take leave, it's when we can support our child who's getting support anyway, and we'll use that money just to do more stuff with our child, sort of thing, which is not the way the direct payment is set up, and I would argue is contrary to employment law. But that's what people were doing. Now, we couldn't operate like that. They wanted to operate like that, so there was a parting of the ways. So I don't think, I suppose if I was trying to answer, I've taken a long time to answer this. I suppose what I'm trying to say is we have a contract. I think we're quite ethically minded. I think we know what we're talking about in terms of generally the way the law is and what we're required to do, our obligations. And I think we navigate that on a day-to-day basis. But it would be wrong to say that we've got a huge amount of it kind of written down in a 20-page contract that people sign. And what we tend to do is to invite people to join us and kind of work out the relationship between us within the kind of ethics and rules that we do have over that first 6 months. And if that works okay, then we're on to the future, which kind of takes us back to the point that we sort of Graham touched on a little bit, that we kind of invest quite heavily in the relationship, I suppose, and rely on that to see us through.
That makes perfect sense, I think.
Yeah, and your PAs there on the same basis. That's part of the probationary period of their employment. That they are aiming then to become members as well, or you're aiming for them to become members.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We allow them to participate as members. So in the one member, one vote stuff, we allow them to do that during their probationary period. But we just confirm it's a probationary. It's kind of in terms of their employment, really. So we confirm their employment really over those 6 months. And again, you'll have PAs who, particularly if they to be honest, particularly if they've worked in the care sector for a long time, who just won't understand cooperative working, and they will treat, you know, they can treat their clients as if they're just, I don't know, like they're warehousing them in some cases. But we want PAs who actually want to work with our clients to develop them and enable their independence and for them to live well and all that kind of thing. And that's a slightly different approach to some people I've seen who are great care workers in a way, but then they're in a kind of care institution really, rather than a care cooperative.
Is there an economic advantage to your PAs to being part of the cooperative as opposed to just being a freelancer?
I would say so, and we pay above the local average kind of, you know, rate per hour here. We've just, you know, we've been able to we've offered a 2% pay rise, which on £10 an hour is only 20p, but you know, it's 2%. It's more than you were offered if you worked in the health service on the front line against coronavirus, isn't it? So we've done that kind of thing, and we not only is it above market rates, but we also I think some of the lifestyle stuff goes with it as well. So we've got a lot of part-time. In fact, most of our PAs are part-time, and they kind of do their PA work around their other lifestyle commitments. And again, because it's about the relationship between them and the client, if you like, or the user member, then the user member understands and is quite often quite flexible to allow them to do that. And we'll say, well, okay, I know I'd like you to be here at 9 o'clock, but 9:30 is fine because you're dropping your son off at primary school or whatever. And that kind of thing is good. And that's not the care agency relationship. Well, they'll turn up late anyway. But you know, if they'd asked you in the first place, you wouldn't have minded. It's that kind of thing. But we're arguing that economically it's better for them, but actually their life and their kind of is better for them. And I think one of the big things which I think would interest you from the Colne Valley point of view is that we have PAs who might now support 2 or 3 different user members in any given sort of pay month. Now, if they were doing that outside the cooperative and they were doing that with individuals on direct payments, then you're talking about 3 different pay slips, all arriving, the money arriving in the bank on different days, and some of it on payday, some of it weeks later in a check and all that kind of thing. Whereas what we do, consolidate it all together, one pay slip, 24th of the month, hell or high water, you get paid, and you know roughly what you're going to get paid every month as well, because we kind of work that out as part of our deal. So you're getting pretty much the same amount every month, or a minimum amount every month, and it can be a bit higher. So I think there's a lot of stuff there that is much, much better and secure for the employee member.
Yeah, I can see a benefit there for those people quite clearly. That's really interesting. Food for thought.
Wonderful. I mean, it's 1:45. I'm happy to keep talking. Shall we maybe just stop? Do we stop the recording for a little bit? Or Mark's got another question. Oh, I'm not going to intervene now. There we go. Back to you, John. Do you want to take another question?
Okay, should I just do
If you've got
Mark's
space, though. Yeah, if you've got space, though, if you need to go as well, let's just, Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm okay for a bit. So Mark, have you got another question?
I have indeed, John. Just wanted to hear from you, from your experience, that if you have a client, if I could use that terminology, with high dependency needs, and you may have to cover most of the 24-hour spectrum, do you find that you're able to do that reasonably well with a number of carers, or do you find that sometimes that may be a bit difficult because of allocating hours to the service provider, the carer?
So the new group that we've got set up on the Wirral is that situation. So it's not, and it's slightly different to the Chester group. So the Chester group, you've got a number of user members and a number of PAs, and they've all got and and kind of budget wise, there's a whole range of different direct payment budgets there, and now personal health budget is one of them as well. The Wirral group are actually a group of PAs supporting one individual, high dependency 24/7. So we are taking a different direction there, and it's why they are sort of different animals. The Wirral group of PAs are a fantastically little close-knit sort of supportive community for this individual, and they actually, and again, part of the thing is whilst they were supporting this individual before coming into the cooperative, they then agreed to come into the cooperative, and the point of the sort of lesson about that really is that it's no good just talking to the user member or the user member's wife who kind of was managing the direct payment at this time. You need to talk to the PAs as well, and everybody needs to come on board together. But they're quite into the way that we operate, which is quite good. So there's a whole kind of team around the individual, which works really well. And what they're particularly good for, which is always the worry for me, is that they're very good at providing resilience for each other, for leave and cover and all that kind of thing. And we seem to be in quite a good network locally, where they find it relatively easy to recruit people to replace people who might have moved on. So we have had some fresh recruitment, and that's worked really well. It's early days with them because we've only been working with them for about 3 or 4 months now, and plus some sort of setup time where we did some of the recruiting with them. So it's a little bit, my fingers are still crossed on that, but that seems to be working okay. And we'll have to kind of see how that develops in the future. But we seem to have been able to kind of meet the requirement there. I think you can see that there will be risks around that. I think if we didn't have such a closely knit PA team, or in a sense of people who'd already been quite well practiced in what they're doing, I think that would have been more problematical. But we seem to be doing okay with it at the moment, and fingers crossed we'll continue to do so.
Great, well done. Thanks again, Tom.
Thank you. Veronica, I think it's over to you.
Thank you. I have just, I mean, it's always brilliant when you come and share testimonies of your members. It's always great to hear. Yeah, I really always appreciate your very concise and like to the point style of explaining and answering all the questions. And I have to say, I found it personally really useful in terms of just clarifying some of the thoughts and building on what we heard earlier today about the Federation and how we're looking at how we want to grow sustainably so that we don't go too big, and so that we do grow, so that we're able to offer support in communities more wider. This is really good. And hearing that you're doing well financially just feels really positive as well, because I think people have been looking to us in a way a bit. It felt that like we bring in something new, and I'm not saying we're not, and at the same time you have already been doing some of the things we're trying to do and we're looking at working on. So that just feels really great that we also have somebody else we can actually sort of look and follow. And I know that you've worked on the toolkit, we've talked about that together, and we've been doing that, and it just sort of always keeps coming back to we looking at this together somehow going forward to sort of build on that and make it stronger mutually would be really great, because you already have some of the answers of things which we are sort of considering and looking at. So yeah, just great. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
And
thanks for having me.
Just